In Wonderman, what stood out to me most was how strongly it commits to character, performance, and identity. It feels less interested in being a loud superhero story and more interested in following one person's internal struggle, and that difference is what made the show so compelling for me. Mateen is a standout, and he plays Simon so well that the entire show feels anchored by how believable Simon's inner life is. In the first scene, we see how seriously Simon takes acting and how much he wants to do it properly, but we also see the flaw that follows him everywhere. He is so in his own head that his anxiety about absolutely nailing the role and knowing every minute detail ends up costing him the part. That moment doesn't just introduce his relationship with acting, it introduces the pattern of his life. Simon overthinks, tightens up, and loses opportunities because he cannot get out of his own way. That sense of internal struggle carries across the whole story, because Simon's mind isn't just busy in casting rooms, it's busy everywhere. He is so in his own head that he misses chances, hesitates when he should commit, and second guesses when he should simply be present. The show makes his anxiety feel like less of a plot point and more like a way of living, and it becomes easy to understand how someone can be talented, driven, and passionate, and still repeatedly block their own progress. Alongside Mateen's stand-up performance, what else shines through is the friendship between Trevor and Simon. Even though it is initially built on a lie, it blossoms into something genuine and pure, and the emotional weight of the series comes from watching that relationship deepen. What I really enjoyed is how Simon initially sees Trevor's mentorship as something strictly for acting, a kind of guidance that will help him get better at his craft, land roles, and control his performance. But over time, that mentorship expands into something much bigger. It becomes life mentorship, and Trevor has a profound effect on Simon's life in a way that feels central to Simon's journey towards accepting his powers and his identity.
The real you isn't your condition. The real you is the sum of everything you've experienced. The loss, the joy, sadness, heartbreak, losing someone you love so much.
That character-led approach is also why the show doesn't feel like a Marvel show, if that makes sense. It feels similar to the studio and even the old Marvel Netflix shows such as Daredevil, Jessica Jones, etc., where it feels really different but is still connected with its references. It has a sense of existing in the same wider world, but it doesn't rely on the usual Marvel rhythm to keep you watching. Instead, it trusts the relationships and the characters to carry the story. The story starts with Simon having spent years unable to accept or embrace his powers, and we see this struggle bleed into his personal and professional life. It stops him from fully letting go and being present in his craft, because he is always holding something back, and it affects his romantic relationships too, because he isn't comfortable showing up as his full self. It's only when he meets Trevor that he's able to start accepting his powers and embrace his identity. Identity struggle is a big part of the show, and it's not limited to superhero identity either. Simon doesn't really know who he is, and as a person of colour as well, we see how he is code switched to fit whatever room he is in. All of this, coupled with a struggle to accept his powers, leads him to never really understand who he actually is. He's essentially auditioning socially while also in casting rooms, adjusting his character to suit whatever room he is in. It's incredible that we see Simon pay such attention and detail to his character work when acting, because he's able to become any character or identity except himself. I couldn't help but see parallels to Spider-Man 2, when Peter struggles to identify with Spider-Man and decides to give up the suit and only exist as Peter Parker. With Simon, it's similar, but only in the inverse, as he never accepted his powers and his story ends with him embracing those powers. Peter gave up the suit as he felt it was taking up too much of his life, and he over-identified with Spider-Man, whereas with Simon he actually under-identifies with his powers, and he can only live fully by accepting and embracing them. In the end, what stayed with me is that Wonderman frames its superhero story through something more personal. Simon's journey isn't just about powers, it's about presence, self-acceptance, and finally choosing to embrace who he is instead of constantly performing for every room he walks into.